Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Natty.
And we are... Today we are going to talk about what?
Yet another cult, but this time we're focused on Tony Alamo, or as they call him, Alamo.
Yeah, it wasn't. It looks like Alamo. Why are they changing it? I'm not sure. They don't pronounce it correctly.
I mean, it's just
we're from Texas. That's probably why.
It's just like rodeo drive instead of rodeo. Even though it does
so dumb.
Fancy.
But should he be fancy? Anyway, that's not the point. So we watched the documentary about this girl. Her name was, what was her name? She was the youngest bride. Yeah. She was 8 when her parents.
Or 9. Yeah, they sent her to
when she was 8, and then they became husband and wife when she was 9 years old.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. He had her come to his bedroom and they completed vows, and then he
S.A'd her.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, trauma at an early age.
Yes.
But it's because they were part of, what was the name of her damn church? They were like these evangelists, and her mom was like,
go get my phone.
Her mom was super scared that her whole thing was like, oh, my daughter's gonna burn in hell.
Well, that's because her mom was born and raised in the cult, and her dad came when he was 19. And so they got married, and then so she was saying that her mom wanted her to go live with Tony because she had a little lying problem, and she was worried about her soul. And he did have, like, I think 13 other wives.
Basically a harem of women because they were all underage.
Were they all underage?
I think so. I think they were all young.
I thought 5 of them were underage.
They made it seem like they were like, oh, you're going to like a youth camp, and that you're a bad girl that's going to straighten you out, is what it made it seem like. That's where she thinks she initially was going, because you said she had like a problem with lying.
Yes.
So it seemed like that's what they wanted to do with her.
So, hold on.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the church.
Sorry, I haven't.
You want me to tell my story? I was not.
The Foundation.
The Foundation.
That's what it's called. They started in Hollywood, California, until Suzanne Alamo. Got breast cancer in 1982. And she actually told her husband Tony to walk away from the church because she knew he was going to mess it up. Straight up.
She had been the one that was always in charge.
Yeah, she was the one that was a preacher, and he was just the guy that
financed all this.
Well, yeah.
Oh, help finesse people to finance this.
Right.
Because I watched the thing about her.
Promoter is the word.
There we go. About Susan, and how like Susan was the one that was the hustler, like from the very beginning. Because she was married to like this dude, and he was kind of like the muscle for the mob or something like that. And he would go and, people help dance.
Oh, yeah, that was before she met Tony. Okay.
So he was always in and out of jail.
Yes, he was.
She had a kid with him, and she had a son from somebody else.
Right.
So she was like a hustler. Like she originally started this as like a hustle because she wanted money, She wanted to be famous. She wanted to be in the spotlight. She wanted, the Hollywood dream life, and she wanted a way for that to be brought to her.
That was the whole reason why she moved her and her daughter to Hollywood, California.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I think, for her, it was about like, oh, I want to be a star, and I want everybody to worship me, and I want all this money, and I want to be, it. With him, I don't think he really cared about anything other than like, hey, I want to have power over all these people, and they will do mainly women, and they will do whatever I want because this is who I am, and then I'm using the Bible to back it up, and say that, well, the Lord wants you to do this, so then, here you are.
Well, so from what I remember from this episode was that he made himself like he was like a Messiah, basically. So whatever the word of God came through him.
Yeah.
Right. And we've seen that in other cult situations.
Exactly. It's like nobody else talks to God except for me.
Yeah. And then he just makes up whatever he wants to get what he wants.
Yeah.
So in this situation with this, what is the episode?
Desiree.
No, not that part. What is it called? The program that we were watching. What's it called?
Oh, it's called How I Escaped My Cult.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, so the first one.
Check it out.
Yeah, so the first episode is about Desiree and Pebbles. Mainly about Desiree. She was
9 when they got married.
So her mother was born into the cult and raised in the cult. Her father came in when he was 19. They got together, got married, and Desiree was born into the cult. She said she had a great life up until she was of the age of 8. She was very rambunctious, and she tended to lie. So her mother, being raised in the cult, was worried about her soul. So she asked Tony, Alamo, whatever, however they say it, if she could move her daughter into his house so that way maybe he can make her a better Christian.
Yeah.
Right. So she moved in when she was 8. She started to see that the women were going into his room. There was noises.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she wanted to know what it was about. What's going on? I don't understand. So by the time she was 9, he brought her into the room, started asking her some weird questions, and performed a wedding service. And then saved her. That's when first time was when she was 9, which makes me very upset. Anyway.
Girl, that's just...
Okay, so the church was called The Foundation. It started in Hollywood, California, like we said. Suzanne got breast cancer in 1982. And then he ended up going to jail. And then when he got out of jail, that's when he moved the whole congregation to Arkansas. Right. And then when Desiree was 8, he had 14 wives and 5 of them were underage. Then Pebbles moved in when she was 13, and her and Desiree were the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then that's when the whole diary came out, which she was being detailed about what he was doing to her, how it made her feel, how she was upset about the treatment that Tony was giving to her.
Yeah.
And all the same. And how it made her feel uncomfortable and everything. Well, Pebbles, the girl that moved in when she was 13, found the journal or diary and gave it to Tony.
Yeah, she's like totally snitched her out.
Yeah, because
but that's how loyal they were to Tony. That was the thing. Like, he had mind control, like Nemo, over those girls. And that's what she said. I remember her saying that. She was like, he wanted like complete loyalty, and that's how most cult leaders are. It's like, look, you are loyal to me, you listen to what I say,
you do as I say.
Despite her being friends with that girl and them both being the same age, getting pretty much the same type of abuse and everything else, she still like snitched her out to Tony and was like, oh, here's her diary, look at what she wrote about you.
But he also would choose verses out of the Bible to prove that everything he was doing was
intended by God.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a parent, though, how do you justify that?
Yeah, and that man was sick. It really was. Like I said, he wanted power, and he wanted just to control women, and like, it was never about religion. I don't even know if he cared about the money or anything like that. I just think he was just like a pedo from the beginning.
Well, he did,
and that gave him more power
before he met Susan, and for statutory rape.
And there we go. So
sorry, you can say the R word,
but once a pedo, always a pedo. So it doesn't really change it.
But also,
just because you were a pedo who found God, like, if you even believe, really, like, let's keep it real.
Yeah,
it seemed like it was all a hoax anyway.
Yeah, that's an issue, and I think he preyed on people that were insecure and needed some type of
guidance.
Yeah, and belonging. That seems
And that's
to be a
where it comes
reoccurring thing.
Yep. Because with most cults, I mean, like at the very root of it, whether it's religion or anything else, it's all about the sense of belonging. So
Right.
like everybody that I've seen like cult stories about, like, how did you get caught up? It's like, oh, well, I met this person or that person, like the whole Scientology thing
Yes.
with old boy from Mars Volta. Like he met a girl.
Mhm.
She was
I
part
remember
of
that.
this, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. It's like, yeah, you're dealing with abuse, or you're dealing
So
with
it doesn't
addiction.
really matter what kind of hierarchy,
Mm.
right?
It's
what
like people
status
want
you
something
are.
to believe
Yeah,
in,
it just depends.
and there's always gonna be somebody there to exploit that
Yes.
need.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why I find cults interesting, because it's like anybody can become a part of it, because once
Right.
people like welcome you and they're like, you're one of us,
kind of like a
You're
sense
like,
of
yes,
family and community
yeah.
that you didn't have before.
Exactly.
And they
People
give you
that didn't have it, yeah.
Right. That's always why it's so important to make sure that your friends or your children, or in my case, my children, feel that sense of family
Yeah.
and that I'm always supporting them, even though they do dumb things like skip school, but our cameraman. But you still have to do that as a parent, because if you don't provide that, then your kids
will just
turn
fall
to
for
drugs.
anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it really starts at, because like most of the people that do become part of cults, either when they were young or whatever,
Mhm.
usually when they're like adults and stuff, they're like, yeah, I didn't have a relationship with my mother or my father. And that was the shitty part, is that girl Desiree did have a good relationship with her dad, and Tony messed that up for her
Yes,
too.
I was just gonna talk about that, about how whenever Pebbles gave her the diary, he ripped out all the stuff she said about him doing inappropriate things with her, and gave her dad the diary, and then
like all the hateful stuff she said about him and wanted to be on the street
and
and
then
run away.
yeah, and then the dad came and got her and beat her for literal hours. It's that part.
And nobody stopped him.
Well, her mom was just kind of like, "Stop, John, stop." But I mean, physically stopping them. No, if that was my daughter, how do you not jump in and be like, "Okay,
like don't do
we're
this.
done"?
Yeah,
like frying pan something, ladies. What the hell are you doing? Okay, I'm just saying. Yes, the cast iron. Why isn't that up inside that man's head? Why are you
It
allowing
would have
this
been a
to happen?
homicide that day.
Well,
I'm just saying.
justifiable.
It's like, oh, you want to beat on people? Yeah.
Yes, though.
It's one thing like, oh, I spank your kid because they're being bad or whatever the case is, but just like straight
For
up
hours,
like
punching
abusing
and
somebody.
choking them.
Yeah,
She said
they're bleeding, they're unconscious.
It took her months to recover. That is not. No, that's not punishing your children. That is
abuse.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Tony kind of messed that up for her, because she always had a great relationship with her dad, and now he became like this monster to her.
Right.
And then basically she was saying she realized like, okay, nobody's going to help me.
Right.
Because both my parents aren't going to take me out of here.
Right.
I belong to Tony. This is my life now.
That's so depressing.
Yeah. Especially at 13. It's like when you're 13, like these are not things that you should be dealing with or worrying about. Like another thing that I don't know if they've ever addressed it, like, did they just not go to school or anything? Were they homeschooled? Because I'm just like,
possibly.
If you have all these bruises and all this stuff, like I'm sure if you go to a regular school, like your teacher, guidance counselor, somebody's going to notice and they're going to ask questions, because also, once again, where were the parents?
Well,
like
the parents were there. They're the one that put her in that situation.
Exactly. But it's just like, that's what I kind of wondered. I was like, did they go to school, or they just didn't, was she just a dropout basically, and she was just
I don't
living
think
there
she
in Tony's
ever
house?
went to school. Right, because she was born into the cult, and they have them there. The whole purpose of their lives is to work jobs within the organization or church.
Yeah, that's still really sad.
Yeah.
But you're like, damn.
Good thing is that when she turned 15, when she was 13, she made a choice. She was like, all right, I'm never going to let this happen again. Luckily, she was very headstrong. Luckily. So when she was 15, Tony started saying that she was in trouble. Like, you know what you did. And she's like, no, I don't. Please tell me what I did. And he told her, look, your dad's coming for you. He was gonna discipline her. And Desiree knew that he was capable of hurting her. So somehow, I don't know how, she had a cell phone, called her aunt in Florida that used to be a member of the church. And her aunt said, okay, look, I'll send 2 friends to come get you at 11:30 tonight. And then she packed up all her stuff, and Tony had asked her to rub him to sleep. I don't know what that means. It's creepy just by itself.
And
at a 15-year-old. Okay.
We can't say it on this podcast, but you know,
but
there's songs about it.
Sorry.
The candy shop. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. But she ended up being able to leave and save herself.
Yeah.
Which, ladies, I mean, even in gentlemen, okay? If no one else can help you, you're the only person that you can rely on. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're in a bad situation, sorry, but if your mom and dad aren't helping that situation, they're making it worse, then you have got to get yourself out of there. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when she left and she got to her aunt's house, she finds out that he took her baby sister. And now she was living with him. She was 8 years old.
Damn.
I know.
Okay, so I didn't watch the complete end of this, but continue.
Okay, so
he took
that's
her
what
sister.
Yes.
Now.
She had 2 sisters. The baby was 8. And so the sister went to go live with him. Once they found out that Desiree left, he got very, very controlling and got very violent to the other wives. To the point where he actually broke another girl's jaw.
Damn.
I know. So Desiree's aunt was like, listen, would you be willing to go to the FBI or the police? And she's like, absolutely not. No. But her aunt was like, even if it's to save your sister, because she's not living with him. And that was what had her to go to the police and say, look, this is what happened. This is wrong. I need your help. And she just got up there and she was able to tell them everything. And they actually brought SWAT to go and
go in there.
Yeah, but unfortunately Tony wasn't there. He had taken all the young underage brides and left.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Then on the road, he was calling all the news agencies, telling them all this crazy stuff. Pebbles was saying that he was literally shaking because he was so scared. Wow. And he had the wives that were still there cut up all the photos and all the evidence.
Right, because he was taking photos of them
in compromising positions. So he had them cut up all the photos, and he was calling them, wanting to know what his bedroom looked like, what his closet looked like, to see what they had found, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And then the wives, of course, were like, well, why did you just leave with them? Why did you leave me behind?
Yeah.
Because you were over the age. That's why.
It's like, yeah, he wanted the young girls. He really probably didn't want them. Like, oh, y'all aged up. I'm done.
Well, that and if he left the young underage brides, then whenever the FBI got there, then they would have had the proof that they needed. So they ended up going to a hotel, and the news organizations were able to find their location based on the call that he was doing. And then the FBI went and got him. But he had been trying to get the girls that stayed behind to go up there, and he had to the congregation. He was like, have I ever beat you? And they're like, no, of course not, because
yeah, like you better say the right things.
Yeah. So, but I am pretty proud of Desiree, because whenever it came to the trial, she was very brave, and she looked at this guy and she told them, this is what happened.
Mhm.
And then when they were cross-examining her or whatever, the attorney was like, "Are you sure you just don't want his money?" And she's like, "No. I want to make sure that he can never do this to anyone else, like my baby sister, ever again." And it didn't take long, and he got a guilty. That was good.
He was sentenced to 175
Yes.
years in prison. He died in prison in 2017.
Which is
So
amazing.
it's nice that this man is off the streets, but also the church still exists. It's still there.
That makes me wonder, like, what's going on now? Is there somebody else that has replaced Tony? Or not?
I just don't know how you could be a part of this church knowing the history of it. I mean, granted, now they could say, like, because from 2017 to, 2025?
Right.
What's the math on that? Like 6 years?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's not 6 years.
Wait.
You do this to me every time, and it's always wrong.
8 years. So in 8 years,
Thank you, Cameron.
you know, they probably could have, like, just, you know, I mean, clearly you're going to wipe this whole thing away.
Right.
There's people that don't know about it. Because the reason I know about it, or learned about it, is because I watched this video with this girl who, like, does thrifting, and she goes and gets vintage stuff.
Yeah.
And she found a jacket that was a Tony Alamo jacket. And apparently these jackets were very, like, popular. They were,
Yes.
like, these denim
They're
jackets.
actually low-key really pretty.
They're really cute. So she didn't know what it was. She didn't know what the brand was. She just, like, found a cool jean jacket at, like, Goodwill or something. And then when she went down the rabbit hole to find out, like, who's this designer? Because he was having, like, the members of the congregation.
Underage.
Yeah, they were making, it was like a sweatshop. They were
Yes.
making these jackets.
They were never
and
paid.
selling them. They never
Yeah.
got paid.
Right.
And it was just like he ran a sweatshop, which I guess,
Right.
once again, his theme with underage women. So, yeah, and those jackets are really famous. Apparently, Michael Jackson, Elvis. I mean, even as recently, because I've seen a picture where Nicki Minaj has one that says
Yes.
Barbie.
Yes.
And then Miley Cyrus has
Yeah.
one. So, I'm like, damn, this, like, I don't know if anybody, does anybody watching this have one of these jackets? Have you ever seen one?
I would love to know.
I know, I'm curious how much they're worth. Like, because I mean, because they're like, how can people wear this when they know, like, such a horrible
Well,
story?
because you
I
don't
mean,
know. First
yeah,
of all.
that's the thing. Is that
Yeah.
because that girl didn't know? Like,
No.
she just found a cool looking denim jacket, and then she was just like, "Oh, I can't even wear this." You know, it's like when you realize how horrible this is. So that's how I learned who that person was, and then kind of went down the rabbit hole.
Bobby.
Yeah, because I was like, "What?" It was like he was a cult leader and fashion designer. Like, you know,
He did a lot of things though, so that was
did.
another thing. That's why he ended up going to prison between the California and Arkansas bit, was because he was doing the 503 or something for the taxes for the church taxes.
like a tax evasion, because
Yes.
they
He only got 14 years. But they found out that all the stuff, like all the businesses that he had, were just benefiting him, and they weren't actually benefiting any church members or any, like, you know how that would go. But no, he was pocketing everything, and he was making millions. So he gets 14 years, and he gets out and then goes to Arkansas.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, let's just move somewhere else where nobody
Yeah.
knows about this."
Yeah,
And start all over again.
and it's a small town too, so
Mhm. He's like,
with
fresh
lots of
recruit.
lands. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so messed up, because you got to think about, like, I don't know, like the whole thing with cults and cult leaders and stuff. It's just that, like, there's still people that would probably defend that man.
Yeah.
You know, that's the scary part. People will be like, "Oh no, that was just," you know, it's like, how can you?
They were just bringing him down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it usually
That's
goes.
how it usually goes.
Yeah.
They usually are like, "Oh no, they were just conspiring against him. Like,
Yeah.
he's such a nice person. He's done something," but has he though? You know, it's
He's
like
not.
people get really brainwashed.
Yes.
And I think, like, as far as cults, like, his seems like the messiest one, because, like, you know, his Like, I just think he just wanted to control young women. That was really it. Like, he just liked underage girls, and he just wanted way younger, and he just wanted to have a way to have them around him, and their parents to not be around, you know, kind of like the whole Nickelodeon situation. So everybody's like, how did this happen? Because the parents really weren't welcome on set.
Emancipating too.
They were like, they don't want the parents around. Like, once they can separate the parent from the child.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
And we saw that in Jonestown.
In Jonestown, the kids.
If you haven't seen that, go ahead and.
That's on the top tier. I mean, it's weird to have like a favorite cult, but the reason I like that one is because like they were the ones that was like really integrated and stuff. Because Susan apparently was like super racist too.
Really?
Yeah, that was like her whole background. Like I'll show you the video that I watched.
I understand how you can be super racist but yet claim to be Christian.
That part. Exactly.
No, you're not.
Yeah. But like Jonestown was like right. But they were like, you know, all involved and stuff, and they're like, oh, civil rights. And, you know, he seemed like it seemed like there was a good purpose there. It was integrated. That's the part that
scared me with Jonestown. I was like, that sounds amazing. I would totally do that.
And then we know how it ended.
Yeah,
we're like,
oh, shit.
Yeah. So we're like, so it's like when you think about it, you're like, would you be a part of a cult? Well, no. If somebody said that it was a cult, of course not.
No, but they don't say, would you join my cult?
Exactly. It's like, oh, you're a part of our
religious experience and cleanse your soul.
Exactly. And it goes like, you know, people like wanting something or someone to worship. Yeah. And that's kind of
in a physical realm, though. I think also helps. Like they always say, you know, you have to just believe God is there. Right.
Or that God talked to the pastor or the priest or the leader.
That's the physical
and he's the embodiment of it. He's like, oh, God's going to give me messages, but I'm going to give the message to you.
Right. If you can't talk to the man, don't believe it. It's just, if somebody told me that they were talking to God, I would think that they were off their meds.
Right.
Right. How does that happen? Like, that doesn't click in your head. Be like, well.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But I guess, you know, you have to get people to like you enough too.
You have to be some type of charismatic, right?
That part, yeah. And that's what they're saying about like
energy too, like
and that's what they're saying about Susan, because like, you know, to be like that big of a con artist, you have to be confident. Like, you know, you're telling this lie to everybody, and you have to like pretty much believe it too. It's like, you know, yes, I was a missionary in South America, even though I've never been to South America. Well, I'm going to stand up here and tell everybody.
She wanted to be an actress, so she was definitely acting the part.
She was,
and that's why she was so great at it, because
they had a TV show. They were like televangelists and stuff. I'm like, that's crazy.
And how many do we have now? Mega churches. I'm not going to say it again. I feel like we keep saying the same ones, but yet they're still huge.
There's lots of them.
Yeah.
And not that all big churches are bad. It's just like there's a thin line, I guess, between like, hey, I'm the pastor of this church, but hey, I want to be a superstar. You know?
See, I have issues with organized religion.
And a lot of people do, and I get it, you know?
I do.
I
feel like it's just, like you said, bless you, like you said, it's a very thin line. But once you allow other people to control your life and shame you from things that should come naturally, I guess, is an issue, right? But then I don't want to say that, because then people can say, well, you know, it comes naturally to me. No,
like,
you're a sick.
It's not natural.
Like, no, that's not natural. There's nothing natural about that.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that. That's probably like the only like.
Or people that just like get off on abuse. Like, no, it's not natural to, you know, beat the crap out of somebody and they're bleeding, or they're just unconscious, you know, and then just be like, oh, but I love you. You're a part of the church and Jesus loves you too. But Jesus wanted me to like punch you in the face. Like, you know, no, these messages don't line up. But that's what
they don't.
Was.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, oh, well, you have to be disciplined. And the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. It's like, dude, what?
No.
I don't know. Yeah, no.
Well, I'm not even gonna get into the fact that the whole King James Bible was done by King James. Like some guy that just decided we're gonna cut out all this stuff in the Bible and reword it the way I want it to say.
It's been edited so much that you're just like, how much of it is true? And I mean, I don't have the answers. I don't have the time to like research.
We're not doing
that.
You got to figure it out yourself.
But it's just, you just have to figure out what you want to follow.
Yeah.
But
I have an issue with that.
Then there's that. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But like, I feel with cults, depending on what they are, most people can become susceptible to it. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, you want to belong and you meet somebody and they bring you into this fold and now you have this whole group and you have this whole network of people and you feel like, okay, now I belong. Now I can do something with myself. And maybe you have these people like giving you love and support until something bad happens. And that's usually how it ends, that something bad happens because your leader is power hungry or money hungry or whatever. And then the government gets involved. And they're like, we're going to shut this down. And then it's like, okay, everybody needs to kill themselves. Like, remember the Waco situation with the French Davidians?
He didn't have them kill themselves, though. They had,
like the police raided, the SWAT team raided it.
But he wouldn't let his children leave because then that would be a direct evidence showing that he was essaying young girls. So he'd rather them burn up in a fire because he's a psychopath or was a psychopath.
So evil exists. We see examples of it every day.
I just hate it when it has to do with children. That's my
because I mean, people never really recover from that.
No.
So, and especially depending on, that girl, still remember, she was grown when she was telling the story.
Yeah, she has her own family and kids, and she says that she has a daughter and that she would do anything to protect her, which rightfully so. But you shouldn't. You should.
And it's crazy, you had all this trauma at such a young age. Did you really even have a childhood?
She didn't. And she even said that on the episode that he took her innocence, took her childhood away from her.
And for several other people. And that's the crazy part, because they're so recent that these people are still alive. It wasn't this happened 100 years ago.
Maybe in their, 30s? Maybe.
Yeah.
And so some people might think that's old, but we're not talking to you.
Well, he was active in that church, I read, until 1998.
No. He was, when he went to jail.
Was that in, something he was is that when the Hollywood one was?
So he was running it when he was in jail, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it continued to I guess it just continued
2013.
Okay, there we go. I was like, when did it end for him anyway?
Yeah, for him.
Because clearly there's another pastor. He went to jail and somebody else took the reins, and maybe it's not a bad place. Maybe it's not a bad church. They got a new guy. They changed some stuff. I don't really.
I would be very interested to find out. So if you're part of that group, please
let us
comment below. Is it the same?
Have you been to this church?
Yes. And I mean, think about it though. Don't just be like, oh no, we're amazing. Think about the
what are your
red
values?
Flags.
Yeah, what are the red flags?
Are there any kids being taken away from their families and being
put in these rehabilitation,
Yeah.
Because that's what I think it was. It was what is it, on Jerry Springer, how they'd be like, oh, your kid's misbehaving, so we're going to send them to bad girl camp or whatever. Boot camp or whatever. There we go, yeah. And that's what I think that they felt that it was supposed to be. Oh, my kid is bad. They're going to go here and they're going to get this religious indoctrination and they're going to come back and they're going to be perfect, straight A students, well-behaved.
Yeah.
And it's no, it never works out that way. Just like those camps that try to convert homosexual kids into heterosexual kids. It's no, that's not how it works. I'm sorry.
No.
You can't beat the gay out of somebody.
Just allow your child to be who they are.
Exactly. They're children. Jesus Christ. You're only that age for so long.
I know.
You grow up and then, it's nice to be hey, I actually had a childhood. It sucks when there are people that were oh yeah, from the time I was 10, I was married to a 50-year-old man. Or however the hell old he was. Oh no, he was old. He was old. He was old. But yeah,
60s. He was in the 60s.
Okay. Well then there you go. Yeah.
That's
shit's wild. It is disgusting. But anyway, so that is our take on this cult. We should just do various cults.
I think we are gonna do that. Yeah.
I'll tell you about another one that I found out about off camera.
Okay.
It might be our next.
Yep.
Okay.
I also want to do So we're gonna do another cult one, just because I mean we both
want to roll
are
here.
pretty passionate, I'm gonna say, about cults. But I also want to do serial killers.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
I'm always into like the psychological aspect of it, and just like in the cults.
Yeah.
So if you would like to see that, go ahead and comment below down here. Okay.
Let us know some interesting stories, some interesting people.
And let us know what you want to hear. Do you have any cults that you know that we don't know about?
Right.
Give us any type of insight. We would love to hear it. Other than that, we would just have to say bye.
Bye.